They always ask this question first as an icebreaker, always. Sometimes they ask it in a different form. There are many variations. But what do they want to hear? Obviously, they're looking for certain things, and they regard certain other things as red flags. But how do you know? You don't know the interviewer, and you're not a mind reader. There are many things you could say about yourself, and if you choose wrong, you could make a very bad impression or be eliminated outright. That's why it's very dangerous to talk off the top of your head here. So let's talk about what the interviewer is looking for. Look at the original job posting. Usually under a section called requirements, they've listed what they want the candidate to have. Recruiters are paid to find candidates that meet a list of requirements. They don't determine the requirements are given to them by a hiring manager. Now here's the fun part. In actuality, some of the requirements are essential, while others are really just nice to have. We can't tell which is which by looking at the job posting, but if you've been invited to the interview, your application and resume have met at least the essential requirements. Isn't that great? They want to hear how you meet the requirements. Remember this, go to the interview prepared to tell all about how you meet the requirements. Furthermore, if they ask you specifically about your personality, habits, preferences, or experiences, make sure your answers are those of someone who meets the requirements and pertain to them. Remember that. And by the way, if they ever stump you with a question you don't know how to answer, answer with an example or a story that shows you meet one of the requirements. So, in a job interview, when they ask you, tell me about yourself, here's the best answer. Number one, you say, well, as you can see from my resume, or you could shorten it to just, well, if you prefer. Number two, then go down your resume. Start with your education and then your work experience, oldest to newest. This should take about 45 seconds to a minute, no more. Put the emphasis on things they've asked for in the job description. And number three, say, and that's what brings me here today and why I'm excited to learn more about this opportunity. See, one of your goals in a job interview is to get off icebreaker questions like this quickly, where you're talking about things you did years ago at some other job, and get to talking about what you can do for them in this job. Put everything together and you will do well with this question. Get ready, because they're going to ask you this in every single job interview. Ladies and gentlemen, you are about to walk into an ambush. So thank you for coming in today. Tell me, what are your weaknesses? Look, I've got 8 people to interview for this job. That means I've got to eliminate 7. Let's make this easy. Just tell me why I should eliminate you right here and now. You should be honest and say your biggest weakness. We just want to know you're self-aware and working to improve yourself. Ladies and gentlemen, at this point in the process, your resume looks fantastic. And based on that, they've called you in for an interview. Now, however, they're trying to get the dirt on you. And this question is the biggest weapon in their arsenal to do that. So what we're going to do is give them a professional answer to this question that doesn't eliminate us and makes us come out on top. Let's get a couple of things out of the way first. Here are some very bad answers. I have no weaknesses. I'd have to say I care too much. You know, I really think I work too hard. My weakness? Chocolate. Well, mine is kryptonite. Snap! My greatest weakness has always been, frankly, how bored I get doing this kind of office job. The work is just so uninspirational to me that my performance just slows to a crawl, and then I get in trouble. The best answer to the weakness question is to give a legitimate, understandable side effect of something you do that's good. Then say how you address that weakness so it's never a problem. Just think good, side effect, fix. For example, well, I have very high standards, but occasionally I've had coworkers that don't share those high standards, which can lead to conflict. But I found that with a little communication, I can usually smooth that over and it never really becomes a problem. Well, I care a great deal about precision, and I tend to double and triple check all the work I do. But sometimes this means that I'm not the fastest employee in a group to finish their tasks. However, what I've found is that over time, I tend to find efficiencies that help me speed up my work. So this never really becomes a problem. So we answered the question fully and legitimately and dodged the bullet. But if you notice, we also used it as a platform to talk about our strengths. Now, when they ask, what are your weaknesses, plural, never give more than one. After giving one, if they prompt you for more, it's okay to say, well, that's the only one that comes to mind at this moment. Just remember, good side effect fix. Hey everyone, let's talk about the best answer to the job interview question, why should we hire you? The mistake that many candidates make when they answer this is they misunderstand the question. A very popular bad answer is to say, because I need to eat and make rent? Let's be clear. The recruiter isn't asking, why should we hire you? They're asking, why should we hire you? Here's what's going on from the recruiter's point of view. The recruiter has just interviewed several people that, like yourself, on paper, look fully qualified for the job. What they're asking is, why should they pick you instead of one of the other contenders? How are you better than them? Now, you may not realize this, but this moment is exactly what you want in a job interview. They've just given you the floor, an open floor to make a compelling case for yourself. This is your moment. Imagine a big spotlight shining down on you. Now, all you introverts out there, all you technical people, all you detail-oriented people, you now see the true purpose of a job interview: to sell yourself as an employee, to make your pitch. Now, don't worry, this is actually 1,000 times easier than you think it is. You've just got to do two simple things: act correctly and say the right thing. Let's talk about each of these in turn. First of all, we need to demonstrate through our behavior at the interview how professional, how polite, and how wonderful we can be to deal with as an employee. Think of how you act at the interview as a free sample of what you're like as an employee. That's how the recruiter is assessing you. So make sure you're reasonably cheery, personable, polite, engaged, and friendly. Secondly, we need to say the right thing. When an interviewer asks, why should we hire you? We need to pick something about ourselves that we predict they want to hear, not what they would find irrelevant or undesirable. Well, they've told us in the job description what they're looking for. Usually under a section called requirements, they've spelled out the education, experience, skills, and traits they regard as desirable. This is gold. A recruiter's job is to find candidates that meet a list of requirements. So if you can convince them that you're not lacking any of the requirements to do the job, you're going to look like a really good candidate. For example, why should we hire you? Oh, I'm glad you asked me that. Well, as I understand it, you're looking for someone with their Red Seal Journeyman Mechanic ticket, and I have that. You also require 2 years welding experience. I have 4, and I'm certified to drive forklift and operate scissor lift vehicles. Now, as you're saying this stuff, the recruiter is thinking, well, hot dog! Or if they're French, c'est bon ça! Speak to as many of the requirements as you can. It's okay to print out the job description on a piece of paper, have it pre-highlighted, and have it on the table in front of you at the interview to glance at. It's a little old school, but it's fine. Just don't be looking down the whole time. Maintain eye contact. Now, if you don't meet all the requirements, that's fine. Just put their mind at ease that it's not going to be a problem. I do have 2 years experience as a millwright, not 5, but I've worked alongside people with 20 years experience, and I can hold my own with them. So I'm not really worried about that requirement. Don't ever be eliminated by this job interview question ever again. And certainly don't fear it. After all, you're highly employable and you're awesome. Thank you for coming in today. What are your salary expectations? Well, market price would be good for me. Okay, great. And what number would that translate to for you? Hey everyone, let's talk about the best answer to the job interview question, what are your salary expectations? By the way, this is a trap, a trick question. Many unsuspecting candidates get eliminated by this question. Let's look at the recruiter's perspective here. Why would I continue to evaluate a candidate who will only be satisfied with more money than I can pay. Let's see what this candidate needs. This question is not to accommodate you, it's to eliminate you. Yeah, now in nearly every instance, you're flying blind. You don't know what their true pay range is. If you give a number that's too high, you've just eliminated yourself. If you give a number that's too low, it might not make sense to take this job. And you've also just signaled that you're not very valuable. You see how this is a trap? The secret is to answer the question, but not give a number. And you do it like this. Usually when they ask this question, you don't know a lot of details about the job that are pretty important. Benefits, vacation time, sick days, opportunities for advancement, overtime, remote work. Will you have a toxic boss? The list is quite long. So you say, I would need to know a lot more details of the job before I could really give you an answer on that. Sometimes, though, that doesn't satisfy them and they keep pushing you for a number. So you say, well, obviously management here approved this position, so the salary range must also have been approved. Can I ask what it is? And if they give you a range, you just say, that works for me. But sometimes this doesn't work either, so you move on to part 3. Give a wide range, really low to really high, where these two numbers are a stretch, but still within reason. Without knowing any of the details, at this stage, this is all you can say. Saying this prevents them from eliminating you because you demanded too much money. But it also allows you to ask for a salary at the upper end of the range when you get to the offer stage. But Bill, what if they ask this question on a web form or job application where it's mandatory to give a single number? Oh, that's easy. All those details that you need but they haven't told you, just assume they're all best case scenario and it's a dream job. Now, write in the lowest number you'd ever possibly accept. You can always revise this number upwards as you learn those missing details later on. Remember 2 things. Number 1, you can't negotiate salary until you have a job offer. And number 2, in the beginning, they judge candidates mainly on price. But if you stay in the game long enough for them to see your value, they'll pay for value. You're highly employable and you're awesome. Don't forget to subscribe for more videos like this and check out my Get Hired course to go much deeper.